Trap Lord Ross, the suspicious death of young Scooter. Hey, and again, we're on the road to 500 subs. Please, 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 please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share to help the channel grow. Please, please, please. All right, here we go.
If you want uncut and extended versions of my videos, go to patreon.com/traplawross. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. The Atlanta rap scene has experienced some major losses in recent years. The death of Lil Keed in May 2022 due to a rare medical condition, the murder of Takeoff in November 2022 following a dice game gone wrong, and the passing of Rich Homie Quan in September 2024 due to an overdose. But most recently, there was the tragic and strange death of Young Scooter in March on the day of his 39th birthday. Young Scooter was in the same generation of rappers as Takeoff and Rich Homie Quan, but he never quite achieved the same kind of mainstream success as they did. However, within Atlanta, Young Scooter was known as one of the most respected artists in the city. In this respect, didn't necessarily have anything to do with his music, rather his character, as well as his reputation that he carried in the streets of Atlanta. Now, if he was in the current generation of rappers, to get this kind of respect, Scooter would probably have to have 10 bodies under his belt. But back then, this was not the case, because Scooter's reputation had nothing to do with catching hats or dissing ops. Born in 1986, Scooter was one of the last of a dying breed of Atlanta trap rappers to whom the streets were really all about the hustle rather than murdering your ops. And if Scooter's raps are to be taken seriously, he may well have been one of the biggest dope boys to come out of Atlanta since Big Meech. So in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at exactly
he got to chill out wearing all this stuff, bro. He got to chill out wearing all of this.
Who Young Scooter was.
What's buddy name that did this show at Act? He got mad at him for wearing
his status as
the Seattle stuff and then the Chargers stuff in the last video. I'm like,
undisputed Jug King of Atlanta, his insane backstory as one of Atlanta's most prolific drug dealers, claiming to have moved literal metric tons of dope in the streets without ever getting caught, and his suspicious death in the presence of the Atlanta police, who likely had their eyes on him for decades.
Kirkwood, East Atlanta, Zone 6.
East Atlanta, Santa.
AKA Laments.
Like, how old were you when you first started getting involved in street business?
13, 14 years old.
I done made 190 guys. I'm working on Sunday.
Black Migos. So does that include the rap group Migos?
Nah, that don't include no Migos.
Like, I made a whole lot of money. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but I know I done spent millions.
Right? Back in the day, Scooter was the one had the budget. He kind of was helping put money behind all of us. Me, Scooter, and
He just know more about the business. You know, I'm just strictly streets, so I really don't know like the business side of the music.
How many friends do you think you've lost, from violence?
Man, it's a lot, like more than 20.
Atlanta 911, operator 8715, what is the location of your emergency?
There is literally a whole domestic dispute going on. Guys coming in and out of the house with guns and stuff. This girl doesn't have on any clothes. They threw her outside. I believe the girl is hurt. The house needs to be investigated.
Atlanta police held a news conference about the death of a 39-year-old man, Kenneth Bailey, also known as rapper Young Scooter.
Died on his 39th birthday after suffering a leg injury that led to severe bleeding.
They say there were no shots fired.
That's what was reported. We have not been able to substantiate any of that.
Got the mugshot of 31-year-old Demetrius Spence, who Atlanta police say placed a fake 911 call that ended in the death of Atlanta rapper Young Scooter.
This scallywag decided she was going to call the police and make a false report. If this chick hadn't called, made a false report, lied, Young Scooter wouldn't be dead right now. She killed Young Scooter. And she needs to face the consequences for it.
R.I.P. Young Scooter, man.
You know what it's like when you're trying to handle some important business, flying in and out of the country, putting in that work. But imagine landing in a country where you can't get data and missing aliens. But my sister's up and get at ease. I'm in love with region. cash on base income, the new East. Cause you to get using you exclusively. Download the app. Scooter, real name Kenneth Edward Rashard Bailey, was born on March the 28th, 1986 in Walterboro, South Carolina, a small town of less than 6,000 people. But when he was just 9, his family moved to Atlanta, Georgia, more specifically, the Kirkwood neighborhood in East Atlanta, aka Zone 6, an area that's sometimes been referred to as Little Mexico, but not because the community had a large Latino and Hispanic population. In fact, Kirkwood used to be a majority black area during young Scooter's childhood, but it's since become increasingly gentrified like many neighborhoods in Atlanta and is currently majority white and middle class. But anyway, the name Little Mexico appears to come from the fact that the residents there considered themselves to be hardworking and community-oriented like Mexicans, but also because it was a place where a lot of hustling was happening and where things could get very treacherous, just like in areas of Mexico that are run by the drug cartels.
Kirkwood, East Atlanta, Zone 6, aka Little Mexico. Young Rich, we plugged up for real. You can't just walk in this hood. The reason we call it Little Mexico, this ruthless, dog. We got the lowest numbers you can never get.
There were and are several different gang sets that rep Little Mexico, the most famous ones being FBG, aka the Free Bands Gang, made famous of course by the rapper Future.
Sensational.
And their very close affiliates, the BMG, aka the Black Migo Gang, which young Scooter would begin to rep most when he got older. Interestingly, while Black Migo Gang was repping Little Mexico proudly, they would also become known for repping the American flag as their symbol. Young Scooter was raised by a hardworking mother who Scooter described as a hustler too, who knew the streets. And in his song 80s Baby, he would even rap that she was the plug, aka the top level dope supplier for their block back in the 90s. But Scooter had little to no connection with his father, who would apparently become a drug addict, as he would also rap in the same song. In his interview with DJ Vlad, Scooter would tell that he hopped off the porch when he was about 13 years old, meaning that he started hustling already in the late 90s.
Well, that's
After all, his mum was the plug.
Like, how old were you when you first started getting involved in street business?
About 13, 14 years old.
Bro. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's wild, bro.
13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember?
That's wild, bro.
What got you into it initially?
No, just being around and living in that atmosphere. Like, when you living in the streets and you can't move out the hood, then that's all you know, then that's what it's gonna be.
In August 2006, Scooter would be arrested for misdemeanor theft and felony drug trafficking charges, to which he would end up pleading guilty to in January 2008, receiving 3 years of probation as a first-time offender. It was after this case that he would decide to pursue music as a way out of crime. However, of course, music wasn't going to bring in money immediately, and it seems that Scooter would keep hustling in the streets for the time being. And as a video posted on YouTube in 2010 shows, it was seemingly going very well for young Scooter. But Scooter also had certain aces up his sleeve when it came to rapping, because one of his good friends was none other than Future from the Free Bands Gang, who was a few years older than Scooter and whose music career had already started in the early 2000s when he was still known by the artist name Meathead. Soon, Scooter began dropping music himself, often performing in songs together with Future, like the song Free Bands from 2008. Scooter would also seemingly release his first mixtape in 2009 titled Plug Talk, which has unfortunately been largely lost to time, although some songs are still available online, like one called Hood Rich, which follows more the sound of old Gucci Mane songs, being likely produced by the legendary Atlanta producer Zaytoven, who also produced much of Gucci Mane's early discography. Scooter would keep dropping music, often with Future, rapping about one thing and one thing only, and that's selling dope. He would constantly repeat terms like jug and finesse that both basically refer to illegal ways of making money, and would eventually begin to call his style of rap count music because it was music that was specifically to be played by hustlers while counting their profits, even claiming that he trademarked the ad-lib count up so that others couldn't use it.
Count up.
I bought the word count up, like, that's all I want to do, count up.
You bought that word?
Count up!
I bought it.
Hey, the influence the Migos to do it. Count up.
Like as a trademark?
Yeah, I bought the word.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought the word. Like, I really could sue people for saying count up. So many people using it to make money. You know what I'm saying?
And this simple formula seemed to be working very well for him, slowly gathering a bigger and bigger audience that was beginning to spread from the streets of Atlanta to the entire nation of America and beyond. And of course, it didn't hurt that through his connections, he would very quickly rack up features from some of the hottest rappers in Atlanta, including of course Future, but also guys like Rocco, whose A1 label was involved in Scooter's early projects, Waka Flocka Flame and Gucci Mane, who were both—
Man, those mixtape covers Man, nostalgia, bro. Bring them shits back.
Some of the hottest rappers coming out of Atlanta at the time, as well as up-and-coming superstars like Young Thug, whose career was just about to explode. Scooter was also close with DJ Swamp Izzo, who has now gained newfound fame for bringing back the late 2000s and early 2010s mixtape style with his contributions to Playboi Carti's music album.
Swamp Izzo!
But Scooter was not only close with Gucci Mane around this time, but there were also rumors spreading that he had signed to Gucci's 1017 Brick Squad label. But Scooter would dispute the rumors, saying that he was staying independent.
You're signed to Gucci Mane, right?
No.
Okay, so can you explain that for us? Because, you know, you've been affiliated with Future.
I'm still affiliated.
Okay.
I don't get.
The streets get mad confused.
The rap world got it like that.
Okay.
I just don't have a deal. I'm just my own person. I'm Black Migo.
2013 would be Scooter's breakout year, starting with the release of his mixtape Street Lottery on the 1st of January 2013. The cover of the album repped both the BMFBG, aka Black Migo Free Bands Gang, and Gucci's 1017 imprint. This tape would include many of the hottest rappers at the time, like Future, Bun B, Gucci Mane, OJ the Jew Man, Young Dolph, Chief Keef, and Travis Porter, and several songs that will become Young Scooter classics, such as the namesake song Street Lottery, featuring the Houston legend Bun B, Work with Gucci Mane, the music video for that song now having over 12 million views, and it would even make its way to the soundtrack of the legendary video game GTA 5, and of course, the song Columbia, which would turn out to be Scooter's breakthrough hit, the song even getting a high-budget music video that was actually filmed partly in Colombia, whilst having cameos from both Gucci Mane and the 5-star stunner and CEO of the Cash Money Records, Birdman. While Scooter would rap about a familiar topic, saying that he had a cocaine plug directly in Colombia, so now he was bringing that good stuff in by the metric ton. The song would receive nationwide radio play, and a heavily censored version of it would even get spun on MTV. The song would even get a remix with a completely new music video and a star-studded lineup, including fake Birdman Rick Ross, real Birdman Gucci Mane, and of course, Birdman. Scooter would keep feeding the streets with mixtapes like Free Bricks 2 that he would put out with Gucci Mane in February 2013, but Scooter would also get in some legal trouble during his rise to fame, as he would be arrested for a probation violation in April, stemming from a 2011 arrest that included charges of felony forgery, driving without a license, and speeding. Scooter would be sent to jail for about half a year, during which he would incredibly end up being put in the same jail cell with none other than Gucci Mane, who had gotten locked up in March in true goo-wop.
I feel like Atlanta just be doing that shit. They just be throwing rappers in there to create better mixtapes for the city.
Fashion for allegedly hitting a fan who was trying to get a picture with him in the head with a champagne bottle.
There's a rumor that you and Gucci were cellmates. Any truth in that?
Yeah, we were for like 2 months.
Oh, so you guys were actually cellmates for 2 months?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Still wondering how to get out this one. Ain't like nothing. Me and him being in the cell, like, yeah, ain't good. Folks like, man, him and Gucci in the cell together, man, that ain't good. You stupid. Get out of here.
Do you think that the county kind of did that on purpose since they knew y'all knew each other?
Yeah.
Put you in the same cell, or was that by chance?
Yeah, you know they did.
Now, I would have loved to have been a fly on the toilet in their cell during this time, because who knows what kind of high-level conversations and freestyle sessions they were having over a double cup of toilet wine. Now, Gucci Mane wouldn't stay locked up for long, but soon after he was released from jail, he would spiral out of control with his own drug addiction, starting his infamous Twitter meltdown of September 2013. And while Scooter would be pretty much the only person that Gucci would give props to during these lean-addled rants, tweeting, "I swear to God, me and Scooter are the last real authentic street dudes left." Gucci would attack numerous Atlanta legends that Scooter had a good relationship with, and moreover, Gucci would seemingly brag about having Scooter under a contract along with Waka Flocka and Young Thug. Not long after the meltdown started, it would come to an end, as Gucci was arrested for carrying a gun while behaving erratically, leading him to admit his addiction issues and apologize for everyone he'd insulted, before being given about a 2-year sentence and eventually getting released in 2016, after which we would all come to know the new and improved Gucci 2.0. But at the time, Gucci would go back in, Scooter would soon be coming out, being released in October 2013, and he would hit the streets running, eventually leading him to drop the Street Lottery 2 mixtape in January 2014, which again included features from numerous big-time artists like Future, Chief Keef, Cameron, Wiz Khalifa, and Young Thug. Scooter was getting increasingly close with Birdman around this time, and he would even tell DJ Vlad that while he liked being independent, he was possibly considering signing to Birdman and Lil Wayne's YMCMB label.
Oh yeah, right now I'm just strictly independent, but really I really been talking to Birdman about the situation. That's the only person I really been talking to.
Birdman. Okay, so there's a possibility you might go to Cash Money or Young Money.
Yeah.
Calcion look crazy.
What is it about that crew that you think would be a good fit?
I can't really say like it's just somebody that would be a good fit. I just know like the relationship I got with Bird, it's just like I could be hands-on. Bird, I go to a label will tell you to call this person do that. I can't talk to the, like, you know what I'm saying? I want to talk to who I'm signed to. Don't me to your goddamn assistant. I know I signed a Bird. I could talk to Bird. You know what I'm saying? He hands on. I talk to him now every day.
That makes sense.
It ain't gonna be no different. You know what I'm saying?
But meanwhile, Scooter and Gucci's relationship would once again go through a rough patch when Gucci would suddenly tweet from behind bars that he was trying to sell Scooter's management and artist contracts for $200,000. But young Scooter was never one to beef on social media, and when asked about Gucci by DJ Vlad later that year, Scooter would say that he still spoke with him regularly.
So since last time we talked, Gucci got sentenced to a few years. Are you guys still talking?
Yeah, I talked to him I ain't talked to him in a couple of weeks, but he good. Yeah, he just got sentenced.
Okay, so you talked to him a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the update? Like, how's he doing in prison?
Oh, he good. You know, once you get your time, you can't do nothing but do it. Like, he ain't going nowhere. You know, the walls don't move.
He probably needed money, bro. Legal fees and all the whatnot. Cause you need money, you gotta start selling shit. And might as well sell this nigga a record contract. It seemed like he already was getting money, so it makes sense.
You just gotta wait it out and just ride and do it time. He say he good though.
Scooter's relationship with Gucci would be one of the only personal issues that he would ever divulge publicly in any way. One of the last times being in the song Sushi in 2018, where Scooter raps how he's probably never going to make another song with Gucci. However, when fans would take this as a diss to Gucci, Scooter would deny this, saying how Gucci was one of the only real street guys left in rap. As Scooter was hitting it big time with songs like Columbia and Work, there would be some confusion with the name of his set, the Black Migo Gang, that he would often rep in his music. Given that the Migos, who were also from the Metro Atlanta area, were perhaps the most popular rappers in the world at the time, and that Scooter had also done music with them, like the 2013 song Homes, where he begins his verse by rapping how he's Mr. Black Amigo.
So Black Migos, that's your crew?
Yeah, that's my guy. I own it.
Okay, so does that include the Migos, the rap group Migos?
Nah, that don't include no Migos. It's Black Migo Gang. There's the Migos.
Okay, because you've done work with the Migos before.
Yeah, I have.
But in 2015, the mainstream rap fans would get a much better understanding of Scooter's gang when Vice Media's noisy YouTube channel, in the aftermath of the great success of their 2014 series about Chicago drill scene, would make a similar series about the Atlanta trap scene. In episode 5, they would visit young Scooter at some of the main spots of his Black Migo gang, including the former Bixby Court Apartments at 1910 Bixby Street, at the time known as the Kirkwood Apartments. These apartments would actually be demolished not long after Noisy's visit and replaced with luxury condos that even have a large pool in the courtyard. Damn. They would also visit the Edgewood Court Apartments in Edgewood, a neighborhood directly west of Kirkwood, where Scooter would seemingly live at least in 2011, as can be seen from his arrest records. These apartments have also received a bit of a facelift since the show was filmed. Scooter would keep putting out several mixtapes per year, like Jug Season in January 2015, the collaborative project Jugathon with the producer Zaytoven in May, and Married to the Streets 2 in November. In 2015, he would also finally become a fully free man, as he would get off probation for the first time since 2011. But unfortunately, in October, reports would surface that Scooter had gotten in a serious altercation at the infamous Magic City strip club, where he had allegedly robbed another rapper, leading to a confrontation and shootout with some off-duty police officers who were working as security, which ended with Scooter getting shot in the foot. On Reddit, Scooter's fans would hilariously react to the news by quoting his lyrics, showing that he had become known for his unadulterated stories from the streets. Fortunately, this story would seemingly turn out to be complete cap, because having a shootout with the cops would have definitely sent Scooter back to the same cell with Gucci. And unlike Gucci, we probably wouldn't have gotten a buff version of him coming back out a few years later. But after Scooter's initial breakthrough from 2013 to 2015, he would clearly step back from rap, and while he would still release projects, they would begin to come out with longer and longer intervals, and he would never again receive a similar mainstream solo hit like Columbia. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that young Scooter was slowly becoming irrelevant, as his singles and music videos would still rack up millions of views, not to mention that he would still get features, or would feature on songs with his famous friends, like the 2017 song Goo Wop by Young Thug that featured Scooter, as well as Quavo and Offset from the Migos, which had a music video racking up over 150 million views. Scooter would also help the next generation of rappers from his hood get into the industry, most notably Rallo, who was almost 10 years younger than Scooter, but would grow up close to Scooter's family, and would be affiliated with both the Black Migo Gang and a gang known as Fam Goon, who would operate particularly around the area known as The Bluff in northwest Atlanta, known as perhaps the most infamous drug dealing neighborhood in Atlanta.
How'd you link up with Scooter and Future?
Me and Scooter, we grew up together, know what I'm saying? His mom, Miss Betty. People don't know that his mom went with Swamp Izzo, you know what I'm saying? And they had a family together. And they used to, I think that was back when Swamp was working at AutoZone. And me and Kyrie, we was best friends. That was Miss Betty's son, which is Scooter brother. And I used to be with his brother, Heaven, Kyrie. And that how me and Scooter became friends, you know what I'm saying? And when he seen that I was doing music, and he was already doing music, you know what I'm saying? He down there OG and me, cause I ain't number 23. So when he found out I was doing the music, he was 100% behind me, you know what I'm saying? And he gave me all he got, you know what I'm saying? His dudes be around him every day, but I used everything that he was able to give me to my advantage, you know what I'm saying?
But clearly Scoot was not putting a similar emphasis on his own rap career as he once was, which got some fans thinking that young Scooter actually never stopped jugging and finessing in these streets. If that's true, Scooter might just have been one of the best trappers out of Atlanta, because besides some of his early cases, he surprisingly had very few problems with the law, as the Guardian reporter George Cheedy noted recently. Even when Rollo and his crew would go down in a 2018 drug bust that was major, many sites reported on the case, highlighting him as a Black Migo gang member. Young Scooter would seemingly skate by without any relation to this case. But if Scooter's lyrics are to be believed, he was literally running a drug empire like Pablo Escobar. Already in his early songs, Scooter would rap about how he always kept at least $60,000 in his pocket, and that was his jug money, aka his money to buy the next pack of drugs. And even back then, he would mention jugging all the way overseas to get the packs into America. And of course, being from Little Mexico, Scooter would apparently have plugs across the border too, saying how his essay made him a millionaire all the way back in 2012, when the rap money was certainly not doing that good for young Scooter.
Back in the day, Scooter was the one had the budget.
Right.
J Money.
And he the one was
don't be with J Money serving everybody. That J Money
put money behind all us. Me, Scooter, and Future.
Scooter would also mention how he kept bricks of dope in every trash can in Mexico, this likely referring to the neighborhood of Little Mexico, not the entire nation of Mexico, unless. As well as saying that he was road running drugs all the way to New York. And of course, by the time Scooter was beginning to make some real money with rap in the dope game, he had apparently been moving metric tons and was making $1 million runs in Colombia with his plug named Hector, who he would apparently teach how to remix the coke, I assume using different cutting agents to increase the quality. And if Scooter was truly better at that than the Colombian cartels, then he definitely earned his reputation as the drug king. But Scooter wasn't just selling drugs. He would often call himself a talking drug who had $1 million drug habit of his own, although he would also mention that the money he made from drugs was so much that it could land him on the Forbes list. So a couple $1,000s for a pint here and there would hardly hurt his pockets. But when Scooter began to slow down his musical output, if anything, his raps about jugging became more detailed, often mentioning specific numbers that his drug deals involved, showing that if Scooter hadn't become a rapper or a professional juggernaut, he could have easily become a mathematician, and when he wasn't a talking drug, he was a human calculator. In his later days, after being on a years-long juggathon, Scooter would reach a well-deserved OG status, which he would reflect on in his music, savoring the impact that he had left and the accolades that he had earned. In all seriousness though, although Scooter might not have been the most thought-provoking lyricist or the most unique rapper artistically, the type of drug dealer raps that he made very well. He had become arguably one of the most respected rappers in Atlanta, not because of his music, but because of the way that he carried himself and conducted himself around his peers and in the streets. And whether or not he was really involved in the rap game or the trap game, he was clearly a gifted businessman, which is all he ever seemed to want to do. But sadly, in 2025, his life would come to a tragic end. On March the 28th, young Scooter was celebrating his 39th birthday, reposting birthday wishes that he was getting from family, friends, and fans. But then at approximately 5:23 p.m., Atlanta police would respond to a 911 call reporting a domestic dispute on the William Nye Drive, located in the Lakewood Heights suburb in South Atlanta. The caller would report that a naked woman was beaten and dragged inside, and 7 armed men were in the house, and that she had heard 3 gunshots fired, suspecting that the house was involved in drug dealing and prostitution.
Tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, so I'm the neighborhood watch, and basically, like I said, these guys they're like selling drugs in and out.
Bro, I ain't gonna cap. I hope whoever made this call get some time so people can stop doing this swatting shit, because that shit is so ass. That shit is so whack, bro. You putting everybody's life in danger. Hell
out of the house. All you see is guys coming in and out of the house with guns and stuff. They holding guns in the air, and then it's like, I'm not sure if they're pimping, but
I get, bro. She deserves 15 years at least, cause somebody's life was taken.
It's the situation that's going on right now. This girl doesn't have on any clothes. They threw her outside.
She making a bold-faced lie.
The girl. He literally fought the girl. I'm not sure what they was fighting over. If they was fighting over drugs, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like they were fighting over drugs. And then they started shooting. She had someone come over there, and they started shooting.
How she know all this?
The house needs to be investigated. They're definitely doing illegal stuff over there, and it's disturbing the area.
Shots were fired?
I would say 3. It was 3
I would
shots.
say
When
3.
did it happen?
It's happening now.
Okay.
So I believe the girl is hurt.
And they're
that's
coming
why
from 273 William Nye Drive?
That's not, yes. And the girl is hurt because she was like bleeding profusely, like blood everywhere.
Okay. Do you see or hear anything else?
Yeah, she's trying to get away and they're holding her. She's being held hostage. Like they brought her, the guy that was fighting her, she ran outside naked and then he was fighting her outside. And then there was another commotion. She tried to get away. He dragged her back in the house. So now they're at the door.
Sound like she making them a
She's trying
movie
to
in
get
her
out.
head.
He's refusing to let her out. And it's like 7 guys in the house.
Officers arrived on the scene and knocked on the door, with a man, later confirmed as Scooter, opening and immediately shutting the door without saying a word. Not long after, while the officers were establishing a perimeter, 2 men would flee out the back. However, one would soon turn back, likely realizing that he couldn't get away. But Scooter would keep going, jumping 2 fences. But then something would happen, and Scooter would fall on the ground, suffering from a severe leg injury. Young Scooter would be taken to the Grady Memorial Hospital, but the injuries that he had suffered would prove too serious, and he would be pronounced dead.
The first being from the 200 block of William Nye Drive. In Zone 3, officers responded to a dispute with a weapon. It was advised in the call remarks that shots were fired and a female was dragged back into the location. Once officers arrived, they knocked on the door. A male opened the door and immediately shut the door on the officers. The officers then established a perimeter. During the process of establishing the perimeter, 2 males fled out of the rear of the house. 1 male returned back into the house. The other male jumped 2 fences as he was fleeing. When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. Officers rendered aid and he was transported to Grady Hospital where he was pronounced deceased.
A few hours after the incident, social media reports would begin surfacing, which identified Scooter as the potential deceased. And although APD would not confirm his identity immediately, already that night, news reports and social media influencers would begin to report on Scooter's passing.
Good evening and thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Jennifer Bellamy. We are following breaking news right now in the city of Atlanta, where just minutes ago, Atlanta police held a news conference about the death of a 39-year-old man, Kenneth Bailey, also known as rapper Young Scooter.
All right, the A is on fire morning right now. The death of Young Scooter. The news just came through.
But that wasn't all, as rumors would also immediately begin to spread that he had actually been shot by the Atlanta police.
So it turns out
what the hell
Scooter
is going
gets shot
on?
by the police. We don't really know the details of it, but what we do know is when they did shoot him, he was transported to Grady, where later he got pronounced dead.
So Young Scooter got killed by the police tonight.
This is crazy, gang. This is some stuff like I wasn't even expecting to hear. Expecting to see Young Scooter shot and killed by the police. That's crazy. That's like so
Wait,
crazy.
so what happened?
I can't make this up.
However, the
Did they
police would
not
quickly
shoot him?
deny these rumors, saying
Yeah.
that Scooter had sustained an injury to his leg whilst jumping over the fences, but that the cause of death had not yet been confirmed.
Cody, you just stepped out of that briefing from police. A lot going on tonight. What have you learned?
Well, Jennifer, the main thing we want to set straight here, the lieutenant over homicide with Atlanta police saying they did not, in fact, shoot Young Scooter. They say there were no shots fired during this ordeal tonight on William Nye Drive. As he was making his way from that home, he actually jumped 2 fences. It was during one of those jumps he landed and somehow broke a leg. Some were hearing initial reports it was a femur. Again, we don't know the details of exactly the injuries, but tonight the medical examiner says a cause and manner of death have not been confirmed.
When police were asked if the woman who had supposedly been dragged inside the house was okay, the police said that they only located 2 males at the residence and were investigating further.
Was the woman injured at all?
So we were not able to locate a female.
Give our ass 20 years.
We ended up with 2 males and the decedent.
outside of the residence, and then a woman was drugged back into the...
That's what was reported. We have not been able to substantiate any of that, which is also a part of our investigation.
Meanwhile, Scooter's peers from the Atlanta rap scene would begin posting tributes to him, including his good friends like Future and Young Thug, as well as the younger generation like Playboi Carti, and even Carti's arch nemesis Ola Runt, this being yet another example of how Scooter didn't participate in the beefs or pick sides in Atlanta politics. Surprisingly, even Rallo, who had just fallen out with Scooter due to Scooter not backing him up after Rallo was accused of snitching, would post that Scooter's death had messed him up, likely heartbroken that he hadn't been able to mend their relationship before Scooter passed. But most tragic of all would be young Scooter's son, who took to Instagram to call out the Atlanta police. Scooter's passing was both tragic and strange. How could he have died from such a freak accident, and why had the police even been called to the house in the first place? The following day, answers would begin to trickle in. Medical experts would give interviews to local news, explaining how Scooter's death due to a leg injury was rare, but possible.
Well, the femoral artery is quite large, and it could, if you broke your femur and it broke badly enough, the ends of the femur fracture could be sharp enough to cut the artery.
As for the fall,
it'd have to be a very hard fall.
Something you don't often see.
No, you don't. It's a relatively rare injury to have a femoral artery death. It's only about 10 to 15% of traumas, so it's not very high.
This wasn't convincing everyone though, and Young Thug, who had only recently been released from jail after fighting his own case against the Fulton County prosecutors, would come out with an explosive claim that an autopsy had come back saying that Scooter, aka Street, had been shot after all. However, Fulton County Medical Examiner's report would disagree with Thug's claim, stating that Scooter's injury came from the wooden fencing material,
Thug better
and
be
Thug
careful,
would later remove
boy.
his tweet. Meanwhile, people close to Scooter would...
Hey, if I'm Thug, listen. Hey, I ain't saying a damn thing, boy, because they itching to put this nigga back in jail, boy. Quick. If he sneezed too hard, hey, hop back in that cell. You and Brian Steele.
Reveal that the female 911 caller had falsely claimed to be a hostage and that Scooter had actually done nothing wrong. The police would then reveal that they were now looking into the caller, who had apparently made the call from the DeKalb County, meaning that they were likely nowhere near the house watching the offense unfold like they claimed.
Atlanta 911 operator 8715. What is the
25
location of your
years now.
emergency?
The location is
With the transfer.
The call was also placed from a so-called SOS phone, which was no longer on a cellular network, making identification of the caller very difficult. So they would release the 911 call to the public in the hopes that someone would recognize the caller. The following day, the caller herself would decide to go public, turning out to be a 31-year-old Demi Blanco, real name Demetria Spence, who had previously participated in the auditions of a Zeus streaming services reality show called Baddies.
This is the bad. You're doing too much talking, and you're not saying nothing.
You're gonna let her just interrupt you like that?
Give it 30 years just for this.
She would go live on Instagram to give her version of the events, this time claiming that she was in fact the one who had been abused, while during the 911 call, she had identified herself simply as a neighborhood watch who had seen another woman get abused.
Okay. Tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, so I'm the neighborhood watch.
There's a reaction for every action. This is part A. You guys didn't have part A. You guys only have part B. And the narrative, it looks like I was trying to set this man up because you guys don't have part B. I'm giving you part B. I'm giving you what led up to the call. I was physically abused, so I called to protect myself. That's the issue.
And if she was, that's wrong. Nobody deserves to die. And that is definitely wrong. But don't lie.
That's part A.
Seems like all of this
I never had any intentions to get anybody hurt. I was the one that was getting hurt. And I came here to say my truth. That's it, that's all. I don't want no clout. I don't want anything. All these troll pages, y'all don't know me. None of y'all know me at all. At the end of the day, I'm a woman, and I was physically abused multiple times.
The discrepancies between her 911 call and her explanation would anger many
Swatter.
people
This
who
is
would
a
accuse her
swatter
of
call.
swatting young Scooter, with rumors spreading that she had been mad at one of Scooter's friends who had gone to his birthday party without her.
I recorded this like 4 times already, bruh, because this makes me so mad. I'm trying to remain composed, all right? But this is just disgusting. This is Demi Blanco, aka
Shout
girl
out
la
Flacco,
la
man.
la 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 on Instagram, right? 5 Las. So she is dating one of Young Scooter's homies. Now, we're not gonna say who her boyfriend is, bro, because honestly, bro ain't do nothing wrong, and I don't even want to involve bro in his nonsense. So she's dating one of Young Scooter's homie. Now, here's the thing. Young Scooter and his homie, they're supposed to have a kickback, a little party later that day for Young Scooter. It's his birthday. She wasn't invited though. And because she wasn't invited, or because she couldn't come, this scallywag decided she was going to call the police and make a false report to get the event or party shut down preemptively before it even began, before that even pulled up. Imagine the type of witchcraft you have to be to call the
that's ugly
police
behavior.
and make a report that flagrant at a house that your boyfriend is at. Knowing the history of Atlanta PD and private citizens, knowing how overzealous Atlanta PD is, at that point, making that call, you made the decision in your mind, you are content if Atlanta PD killed your boyfriend, as long as he ain't partying with no girls.
If these rumors are true, this woman is next level evil, because based on all the things that she was claiming that were happening in the house,
there was literally a shooting. There is literally a whole domestic dispute going on. These guys they're like selling drugs in and out of the house. All you see is guys coming in and out of the house with guns and stuff. They holding drugs in the air. I'm not sure if they're pimping. This girl doesn't have on any
35
clothes.
years.
They threw her outside. He was fighting the girl. And then they start the house needs to be investigated. They're definitely doing illegal stuff over there. That's not, yes. And the girl is hurt because she was like bleeding profusely, like blood everywhere. Yeah, she's trying to get away and they're holding her. She's being held hostage. There's also a child in danger as well because she has a baby.
she must have known that there was a very high chance that people inside this house would get hurt. But the craziest thing is that we have no idea how many people she thought were actually in the house. After all, it was supposed to be young Scooter's birthday, meaning that this lady might have been willing to get a whole house full of people hurt just to get back at her boyfriend. After the caller's identity would begin spreading online, it wouldn't take long for the Atlanta police to find and arrest her, charging her for transmitting false public alarm and giving her a $7,500 bond. As she was arrested, Scooter's family would provide a statement through their publicist saying that they were devastated but still waiting for more information to come out to understand exactly what happened, as well as highlighting how Scooter was not just an artist but also a father and a mentor to many youths in Atlanta. Also, Future would keep posting about Scooter, his death clearly cutting him deep, saying how his life would never be the same. Ultimately, the facts are still murky. We can't definitively say at this stage exactly what happened to young Scooter, and while it'd be wrong to jump to conclusions and conspiracy theories about whether or not this was a tragic accident or foul play by the police, unfortunately, American police do have a dark history of brutality and heavy-handedness when it comes to the black community. However, sometimes life can throw up crazy coincidences, and it is possible that this was indeed just a tragic accident. If Scooter's stories of jugging in the streets are to be believed, it's not unthinkable that the police might have had a reason to take him out, but on the other hand, if this is a case of swatting, it may truly be this woman who made an allegedly fake distress call who really orchestrated this tragedy, and perhaps
100%.
she will face justice. Only time will tell, but for now, there's only one thing that we can say for sure. Atlanta just lost one of its most legendary rappers and influential street figures. So, rest in peace to young Scooter. I hope you found that breakdown helpful. Peace out.
Hey man, if you made it this far into the video, please drop a 7. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share the video to help the channel grow. And if you like that one, you'll probably like this one or this one right here. And don't forget to subscribe right here. And I'll see you in these next videos if you click one. If not, I'll see you. Samooches.
We gon' leave here what we came with. Nintendo 64, we ain't switching on the same shit. Me and Pace on the track, sound like I'm speaking Spanglish. Send my jeans, and I promise ain't no Wranglers. 19 on me like I Georgia swap with Debo.